Hi, everyone. I hope you're doing well. Today, I have a very challenging and emotional topic to discuss. I know I talk about my brother Alan sometimes, but I've never mentioned my brother Tom. He passed away many, many years ago, and I have some regrets. Um, and I never spoke about my mother's passing either. I think we all have regrets, but now I want to share with you what's most important in those last moments. Hi, my name is Francine and I have ovarian cancer. We don't know how long I have, so my job right now is to make every day count. Hi again. Losing someone's never easy. And the closer you are, the more difficult it is. And everybody's passing is a different circumstance. Sometimes we don't have the chance to say goodbye. But when we do, we should make the most of it because we often don't, and we're left with a lot of regrets. And regrets, there are regrets I don't think that your loved ones would want you to have. But we're most hard on ourselves, aren't we? Sometimes when our world is turning upside down, our life is just full of emotional confusion. We're not thinking right. We're not focusing, concentrating. And if we don't have any time to accept someone's leaving us, it's surreal and it's mind-numbing. Saying goodbye is never easy. And the fact is, there's no real perfect way to do it because it still ends pretty shitty, doesn't it? So a lot of us don't get the chance. Like I said, a lot of us part ways with words that were said and shouldn't have been said, or words left unsaid. How do you deal with that? Except for, well, the best way to deal with it really is with a professional. Getting grief support is very important. But when we have that chance to say goodbye, that is a gift in a lot of ways. And sometimes we squander it. It's really because we don't know how to deal with that. I have a lot of clients that come in and go, I really should have visited grandma a little more often, and I feel really bad about that. And, well, listen, man, you were a teenager and you were just getting your life together, and grandma's not upset about that. But being hardest on ourselves, we're going to carry that. No matter how many people tell us that. And when in the grand scheme of things, grandma knows you loved her, and they're not holding that stuff. They're not holding on to that stuff. This is part of the ego. Love is love. Love is, kind. Love is patient. All those things that love is. This is not it. Carrying these pains, carrying these burdens, that's not what we should be doing. And there's help for that, of course. We have to work on it, though. But what I really want to address, when you do have that option to give a proper goodbye, I don't know what proper really is, but let's go through it. Let's talk about things you can do. Because if you do have that option, you need to make it count. If you need to forgive, now is the time to do it. If you need to say something, now is the time to do it. If you need closure, if you can get closure, that's important too. Sometimes we can only get closure in our hearts. Sometimes we can't work things out here on earth. Sometimes we have to wait till we get home to heaven. But rest assured, every fence gets mended if that's the situation you're in. Because it's really hard to get closure if somebody has mental illness. Or obviously if they're incapacitated and maybe they're in a coma or they can't talk. Sometimes we have to find that in our own hearts. But I will say, on the other side, there are no grudges. Everything is beautiful. Everything's on an even playing field. Nobody's thinking they're better than anybody else. Nobody's arguing. Oh, I couldn't even imagine that that's what we'd be waiting for on the other side. It's not. And our loved ones there want us to live the best life that we can. But if we can put the odds in our favor where we're satisfied that nothing was left unsaid, hugs were given, and acceptance, and if you cannot deal with that, I would recommend that you see my video on my workshop. There's 2 parts of it called Let's Talk About Death, and it helps normalize the conversation. I'll link it right up there. I'm going to see if I can, right there. Practicing where that link goes. Being fearful is so normal when it comes to death. Being afraid to say goodbye is so normal. I think some of us think we're the only one, so we don't talk about it. We don't lean on other people to say, I'm afraid. Kind of swallow it whole. Suck it up. Don't be a wuss. I don't get it. It's a very painful thing to go through by yourself. You're going to need all the support you can get. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Never be afraid to ask for help. And if someone laughs at you for wanting help, that just means they're more afraid than you are. Go to the next person, because that person is not going to be doing any favors in your life. But it's important to normalize the fear and the uncertainty in your life. And nothing helps more than other people who get it. So while there's no real perfect way to say goodbye, there are ways to make it meaningful. I wrote down a couple of things that might give you some inspiration. And I hope that you don't need it. I hope that you're not in that situation, but sooner or later, most of us are at least once. Some are in it several times. So here's a couple meaningful ways to say goodbye. It's important that you say what needs to be said. Regret's the worst part of loss. If you love them, say it. If you need to apologize, say it. Now's the time. Create a lasting memory. Write them a letter. Record a video message. Or create something meaningful together. Perhaps your loved one is a creative person and you can make a picture collage of the two of you. Something that is a keepsake that you'll have forever. And you'll always remember doing that together. Give them peace and reassurance. Let them know they won't be forgotten. It doesn't always have to be an arts and crafts project. Sometimes it's just the right words. And reassure them that you're going to see them again, because I know you are. And I think at heart we all do. I think the only time that we are uncertain is because we fear what lies on the other side. We operate a lot on fear. This whole human experience has got way too much fear involved. Share with them how they impacted your life, so that when they leave, they know they have made a difference in this world. If they've impacted anyone's life, just one life, then you've made a difference in the world. Be present in the moment. You don't have to create something. You don't have to think about all the right words. Sometimes it's just being there, sitting with them, making sure they don't feel alone and they feel cared for. Again, this really just depends on where they are in the dying process. I mean, if they're in hospice, then yeah, this is a really good method to know to let them know you love them, to let them know you care for them. Yeah, what I had written about this was be present in the moment. Sometimes the most powerful goodbye isn't in words, it's just sitting with them, holding their hand and being there. It's very much appreciated, believe me, unless they tell you, could you just go the hell away? I'm tired. Which is not likely to happen unless you have the grumpiest, the grumpiest patient ever. Family and friends and just knowing they're loved is so important at a time when you're nearing the end. I can tell you that. I'm not at the end, but I know what I'm going to want. And we've already planned that out. Who's going to be with me? And, I know not a lot of people have that advantage to make those plans. A lot of people that are diagnosed with a terminal illness are diagnosed because their symptoms are really hard and, they're not getting better. I still have the advantage of having some great days and being able to make every day count and helping others, doing what I want to do while I'm still here. But at some point, I'm going to be in those shoes. And my brother Tom, who passed away, I think I was about 23, maybe 24. You think that's kind of an adult age to be, but looking back now, I just feel like I was just a kid. And even though I had a lot of intuitive abilities and I had a healthy relationship with death, I think he was the first person that I was really close to. Well, my second person. My grandmother passed when I was 16, but I wasn't even kept in the loop about her illness. But with Tom, he lived in Los Angeles and I was on the East Coast, and I went to visit him, and he was talking about that, he was very close. When I left and came back home, I think he was only about a month from passing when I got home. But I knew that was going to be the last time that I was going to see him because, I'm not getting on a plane every week. I didn't have the money for that. I didn't have the money even for like an extended stay. But he didn't need that. I was so blessed just thinking that he had friends and he had other family. He had people close to him that were always with him. So he was never alone. But I do remember I had gone to see him a couple of times. And then this last time, we both knew that was the end. But at 24, I didn't have the experience. I had the interest in the paranormal and what happens when you die. A very common fascination with young people. I remember it being so awkward for me to leave his apartment. And I remember him being so thin and kind of gray, a gray tone to his skin. And, these are the things that just jar you because, wow, that's not the person that I remember seeing the last time I was here. And I remember giving him a hug, but it wasn't as long as I wish it had been now. It was almost like neither of us wanted to cry. And we didn't. And he was more angry at God. He was more angry at whoever, whatever higher power he had. He was pissed. He was 36. I think he was 35 going on 36. And he had so much going for him. He was like the director of HR in a big hotel. That's for being 35, that's a big accomplishment. He was a bodybuilder. He was even on calendars. He had a lot going for him. But when I saw him, he was just a different version of him in his attitude as well. He was angry. And I didn't know how to handle that. I said that I love you when I was getting after we embraced and I was heading for the door slowly, and I remember like reaching for the door, and I remember kind of like reaching for the door and I love you, and just sort of, opening the door and just, I don't know. I mean, I guess I can't say that there wasn't anything left unsaid, but I think I would have liked to have asked him if he was afraid. I knew he was angry, and, anger and fear are very, very connected. But I was not mature enough. I didn't really have enough wisdom. He was much older than I was. Yeah, by about 10 years. Yeah, I mean, I have regrets about that. And then my mother's crossing, that's a different story. I mean, I didn't get a chance to say goodbye. She passed when I was there, but she had had chemotherapy. She should have been fully alert. But the chemo ended up giving her a heart attack. And she and her girlfriend were picking me up from the airport. And I had just flown into Florida from North Jersey. And she was not very responsive. I mean, her eyes were open, but there was this glazed look. And I said to her girlfriend, what's going on here? Is she all right? Because she's not really talking back to me. And she said, oh, she's fine. She just came back from chemo. And that's definitely not a response for chemo. So I think maybe she was a little afraid of what was going on too. So the one thing I don't regret is, even though I wish we'd have just said, call an ambulance, like right away, she wouldn't be here today. Honestly, the cancer was going to get her, but the chemo got her first. But the one thing I am so glad, I feel like Spirit guided me to just say, listen, Mom, and I leaned into the car where she was, and I held her hand for a second, and I just said, I want you to just rest now, and don't worry, I'm here. And I know you love me, and I love you, so just get some rest, and everything's going to be good. Everything's going to be okay. And I feel like I gave her permission to go, and it was very shortly after that she passed. So I'm not saying anything was left unsaid, because saying I love you, I think that is one of the most important things you can say. That thank you. I mean, I guess if I'd have known, I would have thanked her for, being in my life, for raising me, for loving me. And I'm really trying not to cry right now. I don't, sorry. I don't talk about it very much. I don't like to think about it very much. But you make sure that people in your life know how much they mean to you. You don't have to wait till they're dying. You can do that right now. So, yeah, I do have vulnerable moments, so whatever. Okay, so I do think that I have learned a lot from my own journey, and I would like you to, in so many words, share yours. Please comment below. I'd like to know, have you ever, had to deal with that? Have you lost loved ones that you've been pleased by how you have left it? Because I do know there's some great stories out there. I just want there to be more great stories. Or on the flip side, if you have regrets, share those. Every experience is so important that you could maybe help someone else if you felt like you made a mistake. Or if you have a great idea to honor someone before they leave, share that with us. Okay. Take a deep breath. Feel blessed because you're blessed, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.